Hello creators, Morris Barrier, and I'm here with a quick tutorial for you. And something I learned while shooting and editing a video recently is I am one of the world's worst videographers out there. I have never been good at lighting and green screen and all that kind of stuff. However, I was able to kind of manage and pull this off. Today I wanted to show you something about color correction, specifically around the face, and if you have harsh shadows like I do here, or maybe even highlights, how do you deal with those? Okay, let's get right into it. Then the problem I have here specifically is right here where we have these two shadows where I was using a 2-light kit, which is a horrible idea and you're never supposed to do that. I didn't have access to a fill light and I ended up shooting the video anyway, and I literally cried over this one. I felt very upset that because I wanted to do a much better job than this. So if you're like me, when I'm in a panic, like I was after shooting this footage, I began scouring YouTube looking for answers, and I found a number of possible solutions. One was to duplicate the footage with a Control or Command D, like I just did here, and do maybe sort of a soft light overlay or a multiply. And that looks absolutely terrible, and you'll want to back off on that by changing the opacity. Another is you go up here to color correction and you're immediately just intimidated by the sheer number of options you have. Most people go straight down to the shadow and highlight effect, and this too looks awful because it tries to do an auto adjustment, so you uncheck that. But you can still go in here and try to remove the shadows, or conversely you can increase the highlights and things like that. Again, in my case, the footage looks okay overall except for these shadows around the nose. So what do you do about that? I decided to employ face tracking and it yielded pretty good results for me, and now I'm just going to show it to you. You get face tracking started by simply drawing a mask around the face, and I'm going to turn add mode off because that doesn't really matter in this case. As long as there is a mask around the face, face trackers tools have incredible algorithms or whatever they are to detect the face, and they know exactly where each feature of the face is, and it will follow it to total perfection. It's really amazing what this tool could do. So you go ahead and draw a mask, you right click here and select track mask, or you can also just go to the tracker tool. So there are two options for face tracking. You have outline only mode, where it's basically just drawing a mask around the contours of the face, and if you want to just do a basic color correction that only isolates the face, you can come in here and do that. Let me just stop this and I will duplicate this whole piece of footage. And I'm going to put this right here and the top one in add. I can come in here and do an effect, generate fill, and obviously I don't want this to be red. Let me choose a different color. If you're wanting to do something much simpler and faster that will create a color correction that isolates only the face, this is a really good direction to go. But we're not going to do that. Let me start over again, and we're going to do a detailed face track. Again, it doesn't matter what type of mask you create, whether it's an oval or a square, etc. So we will choose the detailed features. We're going to bring our playhead back to the beginning and move forward. And what you'll notice is that this gets progressively slower and slower after each frame once you've hit the play button on the face tracker. And by the time you get to about the 30-second mark, you will be at a snail's pace. In fact, you're going to be jealous of a snail's pace because it is going to go about one frame every 10 seconds or so, and you'll just want to chuck this entire idea and go look for a new solution. But stay with me and let me show you a workaround that I worked through that made this much faster. So we're at about the 18-second mark. Let's go ahead and click anywhere on the timeline and end it here. I'm going to Command or Control D and duplicate this. Now we have both of these here. And we need to go down one frame because we already have a keyframe here. The track points are in effect, so let me delete the track points. But don't delete the mask, just hit the stopwatch to delete all the keyframes in that mask. Hit the letter B to bring the endpoint right where the playhead is. And you go ahead and you start again, and basically you have a blank canvas to start off, and you'll notice that it begins going very quickly again, and of course it's going to get progressively slower, and the idea is about every 30 seconds or so. So at the 30-second interval, 1 minute, 1:30, however long your footage is. So I've kind of fast forwarded and cut through some of this, and we're now at the 30-second mark. Let me click anywhere on the timeline to stop this. And then first I'm going to grab these mask keyframes, and now I'm going to go down to our bottom piece of footage, and I'm going to go back, and then I'm going to move ahead one frame, and I'm going to paste those keyframes from up here down here. So now I need to do the same for these. Hit the letter U. I'm going to grab these and go down here, and I'm going to click on the face track points, and I'm going to paste those, and you have to go up here again. And if I were to continue, I would just continue this process. I would hit the letter B and go ahead and delete these keyframes, delete the track points. But for the purposes of this tutorial, we're done with that, and I'm going to delete this top layer of footage, and now we have all this footage down here to work with. So you'll be able to get this done much quicker, and it will not be as RAM or cache intensive as it was if you were just to work all the way through this in the timeline from beginning to end. So we go over here to Layer, New, Null Object, and I'm going to call this Left Nostril. And I'm going to hit Command or Control D and type Right Nostril. Okay, now we've got both of these. I'm going to hit the letter P. And if you hit the tilde key, it will allow you to see everything in the timeline because we have so many keyframes going on here. And we're going to our left nostril null now, and we are going to pick whip down to the left nostril on this face track. And the same with the right. And if you scrub through, you'll notice that it perfectly follows without any mistake at all. So now we go to Layer, New Adjustment Layer. And we will call this left, and we will hit Command or Control D to duplicate that and call it right. And so since we're already on the right, so let's go in here and kind of get a close up. I'm going to hit the letter G, and we'll create a mask around this little area here. And we're going to go down to the left and create a mask there for her. Again, covering up what would be a shadowy area that we want to get rid of. And we're going to go to Effect, and we already have Fill selected, so we will go ahead and do that. Grab the eyedropper and find the best part of the lighting, and in my case it's the tip of the nose, and you will just go ahead and adjust the opacity. So we hit the letter T and go down to maybe 65. You do want a little bit of the shadow and the lines and the facial expressions. You don't want it to look flat-faced or whatever. Then you hit the letter F, and this is going to feather the mask, and we'll do that at about 20, whatever works for you. Now I'm going to do a Command or Control C to copy that effect, and I'm going up to this right adjustment layer, and I'm going to paste that. And now we hit the letter T, and we will change the opacity. Now all we need to do is parent the right to the right nostril null and the left to the left nostril null. Okay, I forgot to change the feathering on that mask, so let me do that. I think you'd really have to be looking closely and try to notice that there was some sort of problem, because you're not going to have a problem with the mask moving around on the face, because the face tracker is pixel perfect in the way it does it. And it's definitely going to look better than, say, that, where you do have a shadow and it's very much noticeable. Anyway, there's my tutorial. If you found this helpful, please give me some love below in the form of a like or comment or subscribe, and have fun creating.